Welcome back, everyone. You know, if you're the kind of person who just loves diving deep into the anatomy of a truly terrifying mystery, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today's explainer is going to be a really fascinating analytical deep dive into 3 chilling, real-life encounters derived from some truly horrifying source material. We're going to break down the actual anatomy of fear, using the timelines, the data, and some incredibly unsettling sensory details that make these stories so unforgettable. So, let's just dive right into it. So what is the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? It's kind of the ultimate campfire question, right? But listen, today we aren't just swapping ghost stories. We're actually going to analytically unpack why the 3 encounters we're looking at today go way beyond your typical jump scares. They tap into this profound psychological dread. We'll be exploring the cognitive dissonance of the unnatural, the total corruption of nostalgia, and honestly, the utter violation of our safe spaces. Buckle up, it's going to be quite the ride.
Case File 1. Welcome to the Woods.
All right, our first analysis focuses on a couple's anniversary trip to this picturesque mountain town, completely surrounded by a massive wall of ancient pine trees. It was supposed to be a quiet getaway, but things went wrong almost immediately on the drive-in. Think about the stark contrast we have here. On one hand, we have your totally normal deer behavior, eyes on the side of the head, elegant movement, easily spooked by loud noises. But on the other hand, we have what they actually encountered on that dark road, the mimic. This thing had forward-facing predator eyes. It moved in this jarring, disjointed, almost stop-motion kind of way. And when they honked the car horn, it literally didn't even flinch. It just rigidly bobbed away into the undergrowth. This comparison right here is our first massive clue that they were dealing with an apex predator in disguise, which instantly triggers that deep, uncanny valley dread. And the horror escalated the very next afternoon. While they were out hiking, they realized they were being hunted. But this creature wasn't just tracking them physically. It was using straight-up psychological warfare, weaponizing familiar sounds just to lure them out. The mimic deployed this terrifying auditory arsenal right from the shadows. It started with this deep, rattling groan. Then it perfectly copied the exact car horn they'd used the night before. It even tried doing a terrible impression of the woman's southern accent. Then it escalated to an unknown young boy screaming bloody murder. And finally, it just kept calling out a specific name over and over, Jake. Oh, and all of this was accompanied by this sudden, absolutely pungent smell of rotten meat and ammonia. So they're high up in a tree, basically hiding for their lives as these horrific sounds are circling right beneath them. And the boyfriend, Aaron, he just claps his hands over his ears and makes this absolutely chilling realization. It's not Jake. See, this builds on some deeply buried trauma. This was absolutely not a random encounter. When Aaron was 12 years old, he and his best friend Jake were actually camping in these exact same woods. Step 1, the creature stalked them, mimicking their voices. Step 2, it physically dragged Jake off into the darkness. The police never found him, they just blamed it on a cougar. But step 3 is the crucial part. Before Aaron managed to escape, the creature actually whispered to him that it would return for him one day. So this anniversary hike, not a coincidence at all. It was an ambush, literally a decade in the making. I mean, that is the ultimate psychological terror, right? The realization that the monster under your bed never actually left. It was just waiting. Now, somehow, the couple miraculously survived and immediately fled back to the safety of the city. But, as you might guess, the horror didn't stay in the woods. A few days later, the woman is looking out her frosted bathroom window, and she sees this dark, fragmented blob in the backyard. And then it rises up stiffly onto 2 legs right outside the glass. The mimic had somehow tracked them hundreds of miles to their own front door, ultimately forcing them to go completely off the grid. So that brings us to a pretty fascinating pivot point. The couple in our first case file, they were innocent victims who just stumbled into a trap. But, what happens when morbid curiosity intentionally drives you right toward the danger? Case File 2, The Raindrop Then. This next narrative focuses on a high schooler named Nate who decided it'd be a great idea to break into this notorious, abandoned 1920s hotel with his girlfriend, Sabrina. The local lore around this inn maps out a seriously gruesome history. 18 people had died there. We're talking the founder's wife, who jumped from a balcony screaming, "Leave me alone," an unknown couple electrocuted in a bathtub, the sound of violent splashing and electricity, and a young boy who just vanished without a trace after his mom heard this strange squeal of delight. So here's the crucial takeaway. When Nate and Sabrina were standing in the pitch-black hallway on the second floor, they didn't just feel a cold draft. They actually heard every single one of those distinct phantom sounds echoing simultaneously around them in the dark. Talk about a sensory overload designed to induce absolute panic. But to really understand the true tragedy of this case file, we actually have to back up and look at a seemingly innocent detail from earlier in the night. To sneak out to the abandoned hotel in the first place, Nate had to stop his goosebumps-loving little brother, Pete, from tattling to their mom. So he offered a bribe, 50 Hot Wheels cars if Pete just stayed on the couch and watched TV. Okay, so back at the inn. Before that cacophony of horrific historical deaths even began playing out in the dark, the couple actually found a visceral warning. They stumbled across a dead rabbit on the second floor. But here's the thing. It was completely hollowed of its organs, with absolutely no blood anywhere. This specific sensory detail proves they weren't just dealing with residual hauntings or ghosts. There was an active, physical predator hunting in those halls. Driven to absolute terror by the mimicking screams and the sound of approaching footsteps, Nate and Sabrina just sprinted right out of the building. They drove Nate's truck at breakneck speeds back to his house, absolutely desperate for the safety of a locked door and, a normal living room. Sabrina walks inside first. When Nate follows her a minute later, she just looks at him with sheer panic in her eyes and asks, "Where's your brother?" Pete wasn't on the couch. And the devastating realization just hits them like a ton of bricks. Pete had actually hidden in the back of the pickup truck. He was the one who pushed open the hotel doors, and he was the one who let out that initial scream they heard in the dark. Nate went back a week later, desperately seeking closure, but all he found was Pete's red baseball cap just sitting there on the hotel porch. Pete had become victim number 19. So far, we've analyzed horrors found in ancient woods and abandoned buildings. And you might be sitting there thinking, hey, as long as I avoid those creepy places, I'm perfectly safe, right? But what happens when the horror follows you home, directly into the spaces you actually control? Which brings us to our final and, honestly, perhaps most claustrophobic analysis. Case File 3, The Smart Home Intruder. This narrative centers on a newly single woman living all alone who decided to rely entirely on brand new smart home door and light sensors for her peace of mind. But as we'll see, data can sometimes be a lot scarier than a ghost story. The digital timeline pulled directly from her app logged a very active intrusion. While she was trying to sleep, the house was tracking a horrifying path. Just listen to this timeline. At 11 p.m., the laundry door opened. By 11:03 p.m., the hallway light goes on. 11:04 p.m., the second floor hallway light triggers. And then, terrifyingly, at 2:14 a.m., the log shows her own bedroom door was opened. The data left this indisputable footprint of someone navigating her home while she was at her most vulnerable. The psychological impact here is just the complete shattering of that home as a fortress mentality. She immediately locked her door and called the police. But of course, they found absolutely nothing. I mean, they did notice a few minor scratch marks on her newly installed locks, but ultimately they just dismissed the terrifying app data as simple false positives from a faulty system. They left, and unfortunately, she was lulled into a terrifyingly false sense of security for the following night. Well, the very next night, the tension escalated rapidly. She couldn't sleep. While lying in bed scrolling on her phone, she got another notification. The second floor hallway light triggered at 10:58 p.m. She looks down at the gap under her bedroom door and physically sees two shadows standing right outside. As she mentally mapped the hallway, she realized the only place someone could quickly duck into without triggering another room's sensor was the linen closet. And guys, that closet was only an arm's reach away from her bedroom door. Armed with literally nothing but adrenaline, she threw open the closet door. The intruder had just vacated, but they left behind this visceral, honestly disgusting reality. Inside, she found a disturbed gap next to the vacuum cleaner, a wet pool in the corner, and the pungent, unmistakable smell of ammonia and urine. This proved without a shadow of a doubt that a real human being had been physically crouching in that tiny, dark space for hours. The exact second she opened that closet door, the intruder bolted, and her smart home app tracked their frantic escape in real time. 11:07 p.m., hallway light. 11:07 p.m., entryway light. 11:08 p.m., the laundry door is thrown open as they literally sprinted out of the house and vanished into the side yard. The technology did exactly what it was supposed to do, for sure. It just happened to provide a timeline of pure nightmare fuel.
And this is the major takeaway that I really want you to sit with from this final case file. This wasn't some quick smash and grab. This intruder breached the house, navigated to the most intimate area of the home, and just waited. They spent hours crouching in a pitch-black linen closet, listening to her breathe, just waiting for her to finally go to sleep. Whether it's a disjointed creature deep in the forest, the phantom echoes of an abandoned hotel, or just cold, hard data on a smartphone app, fear absolutely thrives when our sense of safety is proven to be an illusion. We've reached the end of today's explainer, but I want to leave you with one final thought. The next time a floorboard creaks in your hallway or a smart sensor trips on your phone in the dead of night, ask yourself, are you truly alone? Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you on our next deep dive.